Go live.
Hello and good afternoon to everybody from Step Up Career. Please confirm in the chat box if I'm audible and our screen is visible. We'll wait for a few minutes till many people join and our guest comes in. So please hold on with us. Okay, Rohit, Advait, Yuvraj have confirmed. So thanks people. Please be with us for a few minutes and then we'll start.
So as soon as you see 3 participants, please confirm. I think Mr. Kanthaki has already logged in. I can see 3rd participant here. Good afternoon, Kanthaki-san. Good evening.
Good evening. It's 3 of us?
Yes, so we can, I think, start in a minute. You are
Okay.
visible, no problem.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah.
Oh, can I just start?
No, I will introduce you.
Is this how it works?
Yeah. So just give me a minute. I will introduce you and then we will start.
Okay.
So I'll go. Yes. I hope my screen is visible, Abhay.
Yes, Sujata. Your screen is
Yes.
visible. You are audible.
Yeah.
Please
So
go ahead.
I would like to welcome Mr. Kansaki on behalf of Step Up Career venture of Abhay Rege. So I'll just introduce him within a minute and then he will take over. So Mr. Kansaki is a great businessman from Tokyo and he has done his MBA from USA and spent 7 years in USA. In 2010, he has established Global Career Agent, that is recruiting agency focusing on bilingual engineers. In 2017, he has co-started a separate brand of robot jobs in Japan, with focus on emerging industries such as robotics, AI, space, and satellite, which has more demand in current market. Before 2010, interestingly, he has worked with global brands like IBM, Tech Mahindra, Infosys for more than 6 years. He has traveled to India more than 50 times, which makes him unique and with which he understands how Indian IT industry and Indian IT engineers works. With this, I would hand over control to Mr. Kansaki and he can take it over.
Okay, thank you so much. So let me share my screen. This one. Okay. So how do I know that everybody can see my screen?
Yes, everybody can see your screen now.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Kanzaki and I'm from Japan, as introduced. And then I ran my recruiting agency services in Japan. And as Sujata-san explained and introduced, I used to work for Indian IT companies, Infosys, Tech Mahindras, and also IBM. IBM has a really, really big team in India. So it's like kind of Indian company. So I'm very familiar with Indian IT businesses, which is pretty much a global IT businesses. So I utilized my strengths for my own services. That is main reason I focused on bilingual engineers. Then for last 3 or 4 years, we shared the focus not only on the bilingual engineers, but also on the emerging technologies and the segments, which is IT and more digitalizations, and also emerging industries like robotics and satellites and space. Of course, AI like visions, natural languages. So basically, that is what I I have been serving for last couple of years. So today, I would like to explain about jobs in Japan and what it means for you when you think about your career plans. Okay, let's move on. Japan is a place that a lot of countries pays attention to. Nowadays, especially a lot of attentions are coming from Asian countries as a place to work. It's because this illustration shows the number of the working population in Japan. Working population means people with Japanese nationality. So as you can see, we are at 2021. So we already passed peak of the working population. And it is a very big news and a very big trend in Japan that we know that um, our working population is declining, and it does not look likely that um, we can do anything about this trend. Um, as a Japanese, basically, we are not. We have a lot of aging population, and we don't have the young population. As far as I understand, I think India is opposite. You have a lot of younger generations and less aged population, so which is ideal. So now Japan facing the decrease of the working population. We have to rely on the working populations coming from outside. That's the next trend that I would like to explain. So this is the number of the non-Japanese working populations. And truth be told, the proportion of non-Japanese working population is not big compared to other countries like Australia or Canada. They are big for the immigrants. And Japan, historically, we are not so big for the immigrants. Basically because we had enough working populations. Then now the time is changed. And as you can see, the number of the non-Japanese working populations are drastically increasing. Like this is 2019, and 10 years back, it's like this. So it's becoming like 3 times as much as 10 years ago. And we assume that this trend will continue. And actually, even today, the proportion of non-Japanese workers, non-Japanese working population it's only 1% to 2%. So the government has signed agreement with India to promote more workforce trade, human resources trade between Japan and India. So not only for the engineer is clearly very high-end position, but also any other low-end positions like agriculture, fishing, even the nursing. Right now, 2 countries, Japan and India, we are working together to have more support, more resources from India to Japan. So that's the big pictures. So big picture wise, Japan is accepting employees or working populations, workers from other countries, and India is a big influence for us, big factor for us. Okay, so I understand you are engineers, And for the engineers, what does it mean by jobs in Japan? What does it offer for the engineers? Okay, so as I have my own business focusing on the robotics and then those engineering side of the domains, I communicate with a lot of non-Japanese engineers, and I ask why they would like to work in Japan. And for the mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, usually what I hear is Japan, still, nowadays China is really great countries, but considering the choices, options, safeties, personal preferences, what I hear is Japan has a very strong robotics domain. That is very true. And the design work in Japan it can be quite sophisticated, which is also true. And you have the chances to be exposed to global projects. It could be very true, especially you are from India, who can speak English. And we have high-end, very technical venture businesses related to mechanical engineer and electrical engineer domains. For the IT engineers, basically IT engineers, similar to the rest of the world, they have the high market value. And especially you speak both Japanese and English, your market value is one of the best ones in Japan, really. For the same reason, you may be exposed to the global projects, like you work in Infosys, TCS, IBM in Japan. And if you speak two languages, you have good chances that you have the opportunities to work in the global projects. And also, you have a lot of venture businesses in Japan that requires both Japanese and English. So if you come to Japan with a motivation to improve your skills as well as your careers, I think this kind of positions, I don't name names here, but in general, this kind of opportunities you could expect if you think about working in Japan. Okay. However, of course, everybody wants to work in this kind of nice project. The robotics is very popular, and high-end robotics is very popular with AI, visions, natural languages, teleexistence, and all those things are very popular. You cannot just, go and get that kind of jobs. However, it is possible that Japan has these companies, and these companies have amazing engineering opportunities for you. And if you come to Japan, you have the opportunities to find these projects and then these jobs. So, as I said, these positions are very popular. Like, these positions must be popular in India too. So it may be difficult for you to get such positions from day one. So what is the career journey for you in Japan? So this is a kind of typical scenario, and there are many, like, other possibilities to find jobs in Japan. What I'm going to explain is one of the most typical process to find a job in Japan, and then to improve the careers afterward. Okay, so typically speaking, after you graduate as a fresher, usually it's very difficult to find the jobs in companies like IBM, Toyota, Sony, or Rakuten. Rakuten has a big office in India. You can find the jobs in India, of course. I'm sure you are good. So this company would be interested in you to, to have you in India. However, if you are interested in finding positions with these companies in Japan, it may be difficult to do it. Of course, because these companies have to sponsor the visas, and then you have so many competitors. All the Japanese want to work for Sony and Toyota. So you have all these competitions there. So it's fair to say that it's not everybody that who can get the jobs in Toyota from India as a fresher. So the typical process is usually if you are interested in coming to Japan to work, usually you contact with dispatching company. Okay, the dispatching company, we call it Haken company, and Haken company in general, in definition, even TCS or Infosys, it's a kind of dispatching companies. Depending on the contract they have with the client, you can think they are also dispatching companies. But Japan, because the employee has very, very strong protections against the employer, we have like layers of the companies. So typical Haken companies are like the companies who provide resources to TCS, okay? So TCS is not really considered a Haken company. It's a solution, big IT company. Haken company is the one who provides resources to TCS. Or sometimes not TCS, much smaller companies, but their main function is to provide resources to the project that needs people. So that's the Haken company. Of course, it's not Sony or it's not Toyota. The company itself does not have R&D department or any intellectual assets per se. However, they have the benefits. One is they have many entry-level positions. So they understand that their main function is to accept freshers, train them, give them the project opportunities, give them the hands-on experience so that they can start a careers. They kind of understand that they are not a company that you would like to stay for 10 years or 20 years. They understand that. So that is one reason that they have so many entry-level positions, and they are more likely to hire. Even I know a couple of companies who accept applications from overseas, and less experience is required. You go to Sony, they ask that if you're a genius. And if you're a genius, they still ask 2 or 3 years of experience. So that is what Sony is about. However, this Haken company is much more accepting. So if you're a fresher and then you have so many other ways to go about, but one of the very possible way is to seek the job opportunities from this kind of Haken companies. And you can first be accepted in Japan and start working and start your own careers. That is what the typical process may be for you. In general, this Haken company does not pay a lot. I just gave a very average figures, like $2,200 per month. That would be like average. And of course, all the taxes will be deducted from here. And business communication, like commute. Commute is provided in Japan. I think Japan is one of the very rare countries that company pays the commute fee, commute expense. The US does not pay. I understand India does not pay, but Japan in general, the company pays the train commutation to the work. Okay, so you start from here, and of course there are many companies, but at the end of the day, as a bilingual engineers, it is possible that you can find the jobs in the big global companies like Toyota, Sony, Rakuten, IBM. Basically, they are very hungry for people. Rakuten is hiring like so many, and the Sony too, and Toyota, IBM too. Everybody is hiring in a big scale in Japan nowadays. And for your advantage, English is very strong plus in Japan. We don't speak English, generally speaking. But of course, if you go to IBM, Toyota, Sony, you should expect that they understand English, and then some of them speak good English. Rakuten is the English dominating country. Sometimes they don't speak Japanese at all in the project. It's a little bit unique company, but still, you have a lot of Japanese Rakuten employees who don't really speak English, but Rakuten is one of the very special companies who are very accepting with employees with less Japanese skills. So for those companies, English is a very strong plus, but Japanese-English combination is not good enough. As you can understand, simply put, you have to be quite good as an engineer to be qualified here. You cannot just go, hey, I know Python, can I join IBM? Of course not. You have to have certain project experience. You have to have very good understanding about your domain, and then your communication skill must be good. Your attitude must be good. So this difficulty, I expect, is universal everywhere. In India, in Japan, it's the same thing. And then for the Japan opportunities in Japan, in general, like AI, robotics are different, but usually they don't hire from overseas because they can get it. They can get it from their subsidiary, right? So unless you are in Japan, you have some certain experience of working in Japan, usually it's difficult to be hired by these companies in Japan. Okay, so let me talk about the Japanese language. It is very important. I cannot really emphasize that more, but it's very important, and especially mechanical engineers and electrical engineers, it is more important. Basically, it's because it requires a complex communications. Even in the entry-level positions, to have a meaningful discussions about like a PCB or any like engines, bodies, this kind of stuff. The language level must be at some certain level, quite high business level, to have a meaningful discussions. So for the mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, work level Japanese fluency is really expected. However, for the IT, it's a little bit different because IT has a lower position. Electrical engineers, mechanical engineers do not have it. But IT engineer has a position called programmer, and this programmer does not have to design anything. As long as they can read the design documentations, then they can code. Then that's okay. That's the lowest position in IT, but still that's a position in IT. So for IT, you can get by without that level of Japanese. However, please note that if you don't speak Japanese, you don't talk to clients. And if you don't talk to clients, you cannot have business level requirement discussion with the discussions. Then usually you stay at the lower level hands-on positions. So in order for you to have a meaningful careers in Japan or even in India, basically you have to start talking with your clients about the requirement, about the design, maybe later about the businesses. And in order for you to do it, you need language, English, Hindi, of course, Japanese when you are in Japan. That is why Japanese language is very, very critical in Japan. And generally speaking, it's a little bit high-end requirement. If you have 3 years experience in the same domain means automotive for the automotive positions, okay? Something like the aerospace for the aerospace positions. And you have good JLPT N3, or if you have JLPT N2, Japanese company will be happy to consider you, okay? For IT positions, if you don't have any experience, but if you have N2, it's good because as long as you understand the Japanese, coding can be learned later, right? That's the difference between mechanical engineer and IT. So IT is more accepting. And if you have 2 or 3 years of experience with good JLPT N3, good means that you can do the job interview. And you can explain about yourself, your projects, and then you can have general Q&A sessions in Japanese. Then I think you have a good possibilities that you have a job interviews from Japan when you are in India. Okay. So this is my last slide. There are so many ideas, opinions about your career path. And as you're an engineer, of course, one idea is to improve your engineering skills. That is very good things to do. You should do it. However, there are so many engineers in the world, right? So if you want to be different, if you want to have some differentiators, Japanese language is actually, it's one good option. Japan has a good engineering opportunities. Japan is a safe, clean country. Yes, I can say that it's a clean and a very nice, peaceful country. And, you know, Japanese language, it's not easy to pick up. It's for sure, it's one of the most difficult languages in the world. Actually, that is why it will stay as a differentiator for you for the rest of your life. You know, if you are very strong bilingual with engineering skills at 50 years, 55 years, you don't have to worry about your, job securities because we don't have such people. I don't see so many people like that. If you are good engineers and if you speak English and somehow if you pick up Japanese and it becomes very good, then you are very different. So that is my last message. There are so many opportunities for you. You can do whatever you want. What I can say is Japanese language can be your lifelong differentiators. So I hope you are interested in jobs in Japan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kanzaki. So it was good insight from horse's mouth. We are sitting in Japan market, and it is always good to listen from a person who is there in that particular market. So we will open, before we open the forum for next questions and answers, I will have Abhay to talk about what Step Up does. So over to you, Abhay.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Sujata. Thanks, Mr. Kanzaki, for your presentation and insight in there. So I will just share my presentation. It will be a quick one, and then we will jump into question and answer session. So I'll just share my screen. Yeah, Sujata, let me know when the screen is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, sure.
Can you put
So,
slideshow manner?
yeah, I've turned a slideshow, so we'll
Yeah,
take
it is
a
visible.
moment to stream. Yeah. Is that in slideshow now?
Yes.
Okay, sure. So, who are we? Who is Step Up Career, right? So, on a very quick note, we'll not talk, in length and breadth, but we are primarily into Japanese language training and placement. So, when it comes to placement, it's for freshers as well as the experienced people in their respective area. We mentor candidates to build their career end to end in Japanese language. So end to end, I will talk more about that in next slide. But end to end, it's not limited to just Japanese language training or certification training. Is beyond that. We'll have more to cover in next slide for on that. And we also focus on the soft business skills. Those are utmost required in the industry. So to work in the industry in any company, you need a set of certain soft skills which are utmost required for your. It's not just technical thing that you do. You work in a team with set of people, your colleagues there. So there are a lot of skills, people interaction and other skills which are required, and primarily in Japanese environment and work culture. So it's pertaining to that. So if you get trained on those things, then it's like you sail through in your career swiftly and go further from day one. So that is where it comes from. And how do we do that, right? So what do we have in our kitty there? So our professional team, I have switched to next slide. So our professional team, just as a summary, we are like around 40-45 people or faculties in our area, which are at various level 1, level 2, level 3 of JLPT. So most of our team members are there. They are very senior, very experienced in their respective domain, respective area. So more than 10 years, many of them have lived in Japan. So they know the Japanese geography, Japanese work culture, overall life in Japan and all that. So there are different paradigm comes in when it comes to get you for you to when you get mentored by such people. So many of the team members in our team are spread across the world, and that way we ensure that our students get the best coaching or best mentors, so that they really get to know how to do things when it comes to working with any Japanese company or Japanese work environment. be it in Japan, be it in India. So what is so different with doing things or doing Japanese with us, right? So JLPT certification, so it's a recognized certification all across the world. It's a certification from a Japanese foundation, which is recognized worldwide for, and by Japanese industries as well. However, it is it does not include the enhancement of the spoken language skills. Okay, it's a certification. Technically they certify that you know Japanese at a certain level, so that is why what this certify. But spoken language skills are not part of the JLPT certification. So a specific training on the key skills of business communication in Japanese work environment, generic course that something is designed and given to everybody as a generic course. So case to case basis we do that skill gap analysis, and then identify areas, and then recommend how to improve on those areas. Then business communication skills. So as I said on the first slide, so primarily the formal conversation and email communication. So this is something that you have to do for, day in day out, from first day of your work with your colleagues and everybody, right? So this is something, there are some set of formal things and some standards which one has to follow into a specific geography's work culture. So we train on those things so that it becomes, the person or the candidate becomes confident and to work in a Japanese work environment at the entry level itself. So the one otherwise we, which was something that you would know maybe in a year or 2 years after working in a company, you know those things upfront when you join first time in any Japanese company in Japan or in India in Japanese companies. So this is the overall journey which position oneself in Japanese industry above and beyond just on the spoken language on Japanese. So it's more to that than just to learn Japanese. So I will move to next slide. So this is just a statistical data thought would be helpful, what and how we have been doing with our students. So since last 3-4 years we have been doing this in various engineering colleges and corporates as well. So there are around, you can see on the screen, the bifurcation of these students across these streams. So we have 2000 plus students who we have trained, and all of them, 100% of them are placed in industry in Japanese companies somewhere in India. And more than 20 students have actually flown directly to Japan from campus recruitment itself, from few of the colleges. So that is how the growth comes in when you do something different. So as Mr. Kanzaki also said on the last slide of his presentation, that you have to do something different to kickstart or give a jump start to your career. So something on that. So few testimonials just wanted to share with you with a few of our students. So we have Suman saying something. We have Vishal Tambe, who is an experienced person. I will not read out all these testimonials. You can read it out from the screen, or just revisit the slide on this video later. So Suman was in college when she did that, and Vishal, he was an experienced one, 7 years experience in software industry, IT industry, and then he decided to do Japanese, and then how things changed for him. So it's not just for fresher, it's for experienced people as well. And we have Damaratna Gaikwad, who has done JLPT certifications with us, and he has really a different experience with us. Even after he did some course somewhere else, but then he joined at our at our place for step of a career for this Japanese certification. And he had a different experience altogether. So these are quick testimonials, and then yeah, so stand out in crowd, just a tagline to take away. Stand out in the crowd to get noticed. So doing Japanese or learning Japanese would be one of that. So hope that will help many of you out there. And then yeah, so these are the flashing the contact details and our references. We have phone number and WhatsApp number as well. You can write or ping us on this WhatsApp number as well, where with your queries or your willingness to do journey on the Japanese language certification, and we will help you with that. If you're already certified at some or the other level in Japanese, still you can reach out to us on this number on WhatsApp. We can share with our your CV also on email or on WhatsApp, and you can take it further from there. So I see questions from someone that where to go if one is certified and all. So you can reach out to us on that, and we'll help you with that. So with that, this completes my presentation, and I just open the session for Q&A, question and answer. So we have
Okay, maybe your slide can be in slideshow. I will check the questions. Here is a question. I think it should be for Mr. Kansaki. What about the workloading companies as Japanese culture believe in hard work, and is it possible to sustain in $2,000 per month starting in Japan? So this question is from Sachin.
Say the last part of the question, please?
He is asking that what about workload in companies as Japanese culture believe in hard work, and is it possible to sustain in $2,200?
Okay, for the hard work part, actually you guys work hard too. I know that you guys work long hours. And in Japan, it is more regulated and very quickly and drastically in nowadays. So I know Japan is famous for the working long hours. Generally speaking, it's not happening anymore. However, engineers sometimes are exceptions, to be honest, because you have the projects and you may be the only person who are assigned to the project, then you have long hours. Sometimes long hours help because long hours can pay the overtime. Okay, that's another factor. The question about sustaining your life with $2,200, yes, it is very much possible. Japan tax rate is about 20%, so you can assume that out of $2,200, you can get about 80% as a cash, okay? And company pays the commute expense, and which means, you know, you have to pay pretty much, you have to worry about rent, your food, and all the other stuff. For the rent, there are many options. I know a lot of Indian engineers. They share the apartments to save the rent. And if you do that, I think $2,200 are pretty much doable. It's not a lot of money, but a lot of Japanese are receiving the same salary as a fresher. So it's a new country for you, but I would assume that you don't have the luxury life, but easily you can get by.
Thank you so much. There is another question. If a Japanese company hires someone, will they give training or not? Or they just need to get experience and at least for 3 years and continue with the job?
Japan is not really famous for providing the official trainings like Indian companies do. It is more like on-the-job training kind of work culture. So I don't really say that you can have a lot of trainings in the company. Sometimes do, sometimes don't. My fair statement is that you should be ready to learn it in the project by yourself. Don't expect that, once they hire you, they give you a lot of trainings. I think it's not like that, typically speaking.
Yes, so let me add my experience out here. We have hired freshers right in Japanese companies in Japan, wherein training starts from day one. It's on-job training. So you will not have classroom training in companies, but on-job training wherein they're expecting you learn by seeing or learn by doing, which is better way than classroom training, which is what I say.
Yeah, especially
So
for
there is
engineers.
question from sorry.
Engineers are like that. Yes.
Yeah, there is question from Vaishnavi is asking question: what opportunities for aerospace engineering in Japan?
Aerospace, it's very hard to say what the proportion is like. Of course, aerospace, it's not all the companies are doing, right? So we have Mitsubishi Heavy Industry to do it, and then they are a lot of venture businesses nowadays in the space segment, not really aerospace only, actually space segment. But as an aerospace is quite unique, you don't have many companies who are doing it. But actually, who are doing it, they require less Japanese. So in a sense, they are more global, more accepting non-Japanese engineers. However, you don't have too many choices like Mitsubishi. It's like Mitsubishi. I know Mitsubishi. I'm sure there are a couple of them in the big names, but I cannot really name names at this moment. So that's the situation. I hope I answered.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kansaki. There is another question. A fellow is saying that I have about 23 years experience in automobile industry. How can I apply job in Japan?
Okay, that's great. But 23 years of experience, that's a really great asset. But 23 years experience usually demands high salary. Okay, and when the high salary positions demands a fluent Japanese. So my question now is that I'm sure you are qualified and your market value is very high in India. However, when you are interested in Japan, then your language skill should be matching to your high experience. So my question is, what is your Japanese level? And okay, I didn't answer your question. If it is high, um, one thing is you can use agencies to try to approach to positions in Japan. But again, these management positions, senior management positions, it's not usual to take people from outside of Japan. Of course, they like to have layers of interviews. Usually, they prefer candidates in Japan. So one advice is, I don't know, it's difficult, but come to Japan as a travel and then try to set up the appointment with the possible employers while you are in Japan. That's one way to go. or you must have some Indian companies in India who have projects in Japan. And then if you have 23 years of experience with fluent Japanese, they will be interested in hiring you, then send you to Japan. That's the approach I can think about.
Yes, so that's the correct approach. Even I would have said the same. Yeah. There is another question. Apart from engineering, what kind of jobs do they offer?
Typically speaking, that's an interesting question. We have all the jobs, we have all the jobs. However, Japanese visa have two type of visas. Typically speaking, for the better salary, your job must be connected to the degree that you have right now. So if you have engineer degree, the positions that you can work in Japan is an engineer. Okay, so that's how it works. So one thing is what jobs you can find in Japan, but when it comes to the visa restrictions, another thing is you have to find the jobs that are related to your degree. And of course, there are some other visas who are not for the engineers who are like lower end of the um, industry, like agriculture, fishing, and those kind of stuff. That's a different story. But I don't think that's a topic for this for you engineers. I hope I answered.
Yes, so there are a lot of trades open. I can see 200 plus trades which are open for on non-Japanese people who know Japanese language very well. So there are few questions like electrical engineering, which you have already covered. What is the entry level required to do job in Japan? Are there any jobs for N4 level?
For electrical engineers, N4 is very difficult. It's because I think even in your experience, for the engineering, you have to have discussions. You have to understand complex requirements to convert into any designs, CAD, PVC, whatever it is. It requires certain language. And as far as I can, I discussed with our clients, N4 is, okay, simply put, N4 is not really considered in Japan. Especially for engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, N4 is not considered. N3, and if you have exact domain experience, they will be interested. But N4 is very tight. I would advise you to take N3. I would say N2, but N2 is a long way. So N3 with real experience.
Right. So thank you for this answer. We have another questions which are little not relevant. Somebody is asking which companies Japan has shifted in India from China during lockdown. So if you visit Japan Desk, which is Japan India Desk website, you will get to know few of those companies who are shifting or who are in process of shifting. So that should not be answered by us. Little difficult for us to go about it. So those who have already done N3 and those who are fluent in Japanese, only certification is not important here. Those who have done N3 and fluent in Japanese, there was an email ID displayed on slide. You can send your resumes there, and definitely we can forward Kanzaki-san, wherein he will look into resumes, and if they are really having requirements of matching skills, you may go to Japan in your future. So I think we are done with questions and we are well in time. Anything else from anybody? If anybody wants to talk or ask questions, we should be able to answer still. Which design softwares are most widely used as far as production engineering is concerned? Pramod, this question is more of to ask the person who is working in Japan in mechanical field. If you just Google search, you may find which production engineering softwares are used in Japan. Recruiters are not domain experts, so I do not expect answer for this question immediately here.
Yeah, I can hear SolidWorks. SolidWorks I hear often. Typical CAD names. The major CAD application, I forgot the names, but all are okay. And then computer aided engineering, CAE, I forgot the names, but big brand, also big brand in Japan.
So Venu's question is regarding study visa, but at the same time, I think for study purpose in Japan, we may organize another webinar wherein we can try to get somebody who can talk about universities and everything. To pursue Japanese itself, yes, you can go to Japan. There are so many schools, but it is very expensive to study Japanese in Japan. So start here and then you can maybe after entry level, next levels you can do in Japan. That's the better approach to do. Okay. I think we have done with most of the questions which are relevant, which can be answered out here. Abhay, I think over to you. And thank you so much, Mr. Kanzaki, for sparing time for us with very short notice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here. And then I wish I could see the audience. I'm sorry I cannot see it, but good luck for your careers.
Abhay, would you close?
Yeah, sure. I'll just end the stream. Is that okay, Sujata?
Yes, that should be okay. I think we can stop here. We are well in time. I'm feeling better because we could complete before 6 o'clock. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining in today.
Thank you.